Yo, so I have been wanting to make this video for at least a year now, but every time that I try to, I find or think of something while writing my notes, uh, where I'm like, oh, I could probably know more about this, or like I should know more about this before I actually talk about it. And as I was writing the notes for this video, those same thoughts came, and this time I dismissed it, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Um, Everything here is gonna be said basically off the top of my head. I have a page, about one page worth of like questions to kind of guide me, so that like I there's like a direction with where I'm going with my words, but there won't be any kind of like I'm not reading off a script or anything. Okay, this Okay, so this is actually edited in before I start yapping because I realized I should have talked about this a little earlier. This is the one edited part of this video. I want to talk about why I think that why I'm in a uniquely good position to talk about this, and why you can, like, some of the things I say might sound like typical SF bro hype speak, like kind of like the speak that you get from like leaders of AI companies trying to hype up their product. Um, I have no financial incentive like that here. I have zero financial incentive to hype up AI. I'm not connected to any large lab with resources. Um, I'm not. Uh, I don't have a personal agenda or incentive to push any agenda. There's no like kind of um there's no external motive is what I'm trying to say. And but also, I think that there are not a lot of people right now in the world who have no external motive to push AI, but also are extremely informed on it, are like in the research kind of community on AI, and are very well educated on AI's kind of surrounding topics, like areas like AI, for example, would immediately affect the economy. I'm very well versed in economics and I'm well read on that kind of stuff. So I think I'm uniquely positioned in a point where I can I have similar knowledge of trends in like AI trajectory of like someone at like a AI lab would. I'm not as technically adept as them at all. I'm not trying to say that. Um, but like I have similar knowledge of like directionality of AI and like where things are going, the current state, the current technological challenges, all like that. The current research. I'm very well versed with all of that, without having incentive to hype it up. While also having a grounded kind of view on the implications of it. So I think that's where my kind of advantage comes from, and why I think I really like my main motive for even talking about any of this in the first place was just I see so much discourse around this kind of thing, and it actually annoys. Like, the reason I wanted to make this video for so long is because the discourse that I've seen around this topic actually annoys me. Like, it genuinely annoys me because I see so much people like misconstrue so many different things. They relate, oh, AI did this bad thing, so it'll do this thing bad too, and oh, it'll ruin this, or it's just hype. Like, there's so many different things that give positive or negative connotation, and I really think there's a lot to clear up, which is my like it's out of kind of annoyance was my reason of making this, not any financial motive or even research motive. Um, so yeah, we can go ahead and get started. Um, I am so I'm gonna try to go in depth as much as possible, as much as that I can think of on the spot on something. But I might lack some depth, especially without someone questioning me or guiding me, like as if it's like a podcast, basically podcasting with myself right now, or giving like my own lecture. So it's hard to kind of like if I gloss over something, or like I use some terminology that like you're unfamiliar with, I apologize in advance. That's not really my intention. I'm not trying to make anything here sound fancy or weird. I'm trying to like describe it very realistically. And if anything to the contrary happens, again, I'm sorry. So the first question I have in my notes is why do I think that AI is the most important topic that humanity has to discuss right now? Um, and I genuinely mean this in that I do really think that AI is the most important topic that anyone could ever discuss. It passes current, geopolitical things, politics, elections, economic crises. Like all of these are valid and very important issues. But I kind of measure the scale and impact of something in terms of what it'll affect, right? Like that's a pretty normal model to have. Um, like if not for AI, like one of the big issues is the economy. Around the world, the Western world, like everywhere, there's lots of inflation. National debts are rising up. The implications of that are large. It affects my everyone's well-being, national economies. But AI affects all of that, and then also every other single possible human domain. So it affects uh, the economy, which is one of the biggest issues right now, and also art, culture. This is the same. This is a similar art, culture, uh, communication, uh, our lifestyle, our quality of life, like everything. It directly impacts every single possible human domain for like over a very long time horizon too. Um, Unlike, for example, if you think that like a certain election is the most pressing issue of our time right now, it's not. Elections are very important, but it's not something that'll change. Like no leader, unfortunately, I think is going to impact humanity for the next hundreds or thousands of years, unlike AI. Um, and the last question I have on my intro notes is I like to think about a lot of things in terms of like system design. Like I do engineering, I make stuff, I like making stuff. And basically I don't mean system design in terms of like technical work, I guess. Like I don't mean like, designing a computer or like that kind of thing. Designing a computer, like designing like a computer chip or like I don't mean like literally technical system design. I mean like okay, let's say like right now there's one of the main issues in the world is like inflation, right? I like to look at it from a system design point of view in terms of like what is causing the inflation. How are central banks involved? What kind of policies are they implementing? Who's running those policies? What is like what are the long run implications and short term implications of these policies? Like that kind of thing. Like what are like my main goal is just to establish what is a symptom and what is the cause. Like if housing prices are going astronomical, is that is the issue people buying houses causing prices to go up? Or is the cause, you know, monetary policy and also system design around our laws on um our zoning laws, our incentives around most people being homeowners and wanting to vote in parties that support homeowners and wouldn't want their and parties that would not let their house prices and therefore their retirements net worths decline. Like, is it so like you like that kind of thing is what I mean. And like try to go and there's more to it too. Like I don't want to hear you're talking about housing prices and be depressing, but is like that's so like whatever I talk about in this video will be from that kind of angle where like I attempt to dissect something through system design rather than just like hype speak or like kind of a narrow fish eye like oh it's just because of X. Um okay, so we can start with this. This is probably going to be the most hype, I guess, part of the video, I think. Um, this is the part where like I will be sounding like an SF bro. Currently, the path of AI is, and I say this as someone again who is familiar with the research, kind of the realistic expectations, how like past hype cycles in tech have gone with like let's say the cloud or Internet of Everything or crypto or like I'm familiar with those, and despite that, AI is currently on pace for massive improvement. Even still, in May of 2025, which is when this is being recorded, end of May 2025, um, even if you froze all AI research right now and you took the current set of models that we have and you just did like tuning on them, like lots and lots of fine tuning or lots of like if you just worked with our current set of models and like tried to get the most out of it, we would probably get to some sort of point where like we could fine tune a model for lots of different specific purposes and get lots of um like current model capability is so good. And one of the reasons people aren't familiar with it is because uh one this is like a major issue. One, people saw AI in like ChatGPT like 2 years ago, when models were much worse, and they just drew conclusions from that and then haven't and have just been like closed-minded on it since. So they saw hallucinations, they saw um, getting basic questions wrong, basic like logic wrong, like it like they saw it as like, oh, this is dumb, and then they haven't tested out anything since. And even now, um, this we'll get into this. This is a separate part, but like right now, a lot of the really good models are expensive or like hard to kind of get to and are like made for developers. It's like most people are just using GPT 4.0, which is really smart. It's a good like general use model for like writing and like bare bones coding. But like people think that like right now that's the frontier. We are well past GPT 4.0. Like if you look at like you need like I mean if you're a consumer that wants to access it, you just need like a $20 a month ChatGPT Plus subscription. O3 is pretty much at the frontier. Even then, it's not really frontier. Like it's around there. Um, and O3 is scary smart. Like again, when I say that, if you froze all model progress and just worked with what we have and tried fine tuning it and like tried working it into different environments, O3 would be extremely good at like at thousands of different of different like types of work. It could replace whole sects of the economy. Um, there is a lot of value creation to be had there, and that's just the current state. Right now, most research labs have proven trajectory paths for model improvement. Like like if you ask an AI researcher, most AI researchers actually have somewhat similar timelines on like improvement. Like if you averaged it out from like different research like uh teams within the big labs, they'd probably actually have kind of similar timelines. Um, because everyone knows the current path. There's so again, I don't want to riddle my video with terminology, but like RL, reinforcement learning, is something that has proven to be very effective. Um, Previously we had RLHF, which is when originally like first GPT came out. Um, as in like ChatGPT came out with 3.5. RLHF was like reinforcement learning through human feedback, which helps give it like human taste and view like human values, that kind of thing. But like you can't, it's hard to like you can't give human feedback on every like there were issues. Now right now we have two big things. there may be more, and there's also stuff I like probably don't know about, which is even scarier. And there probably is stuff I don't know about, but like the two big things are RL reinforcement learning, which is basically just putting like setting up a reward for an AI. Like, oh, if you get um here's a bunch of shit about math, and I'm gonna set up a very fancy algorithm where if you can, this is during the training process, where if you can, from all this shit about math that I gave you, if you can suck out super advanced and cool formulas and give me the right answer to hard math questions, um, like often, I will reward you. Um, that's a very probably there are people way smarter than me, but that's like a top level view of it, I guess. And the other thing is test time compute. This in right again right now I'm talking about things that are going to improve AI for like the next year or so, and there are other things as well. Other big thing is test time compute. And this is so again, this is what people who haven't used the frontier models right now won't be able to relate to. So test time compute is basically you take you give a model lots of reasoning power. So like people, you might have heard about, again, this will also be talked about later. You might have heard about, um, AI being expensive. Like this is because it runs on GPUs, and uh, GPUs are just expensive, for the amount of for the amount of AI inference you get out of them, or whether you're in, well, it depends on whether you're inferencing or training. But sorry, I I I want to focus back, not use terminology. Okay. Um, okay. Test time compute is basically where you give a model lots of GPUs. Like you want to give it more GPUs, this is like the best layman's, but you just want to give it more GPUs so that I can think more. And after the model can think more, it'll probably give you a better answer. Um, this is what reasoning models do. Like if you go to ChatGPT or Gemini or DeepSeek and you click think, like when you select a reasoning model, it's using test time compute. And what we found is that if you give a model more GPU power, basically is GPU power, um, it'll it'll become smarter. Of course, this doesn't scale linearly. Um, like it does scale logarithmically. But I think it's logarithmic. It might scale. Okay, like you get diminishing returns basically. Um, so like if you give it, let's say, 10 GPUs worth of power, you might have 10 intelligence. Like the model might have 10 intelligence power. But if you give it 100 GPU power, the model might have now 20 intelligence power. So like it scales, and we found this to be true. So this is a path that'll be worked on, and it offers this with RL and a bunch of other stuff offers a clear path for AI improvement. I wanted to get that part. I just wanted to explain that part because people think that some wall has been hit. There are clear paths to AI model improvement. We are in the area of diminishing returns. Um, like it's unlikely that there will be just one giant leap randomly one day, like a massive like step function leap. But models are iteratively getting better every 2 3 weeks, and like literally every, or not every, but like once a month there's always a state of the art release from one of the big labs. Every 2 3 weeks there's a paper on, oh, turns out if you use RL this way it's actually really good. And or there'll be another paper on like, oh, if you use test time compute in this way it'll actually scale better, like something. There'll always be something that's proving this path of trajectory we have with AI. This is what the research is saying, and it's proven true. And and this isn't hype. Like this is like like academia academics will tell you the same thing as well. Um, So back to just the current state of AI models. If we froze, so I don't want to harp on this too much, but like people really do not understand how good the current state of models are. If you froze the current state of all progress right now, like AI models can pass all human tests. It can do it can do PhD level ish work. It can be a godsend tutor for anyone. It's destroying the academic. It's currently destroying academia. Like all students use it to cheat across all levels of schooling, undergrad, high school, middle school. Like people before thought that just phones were destroying academia because shorter attention spans, people were distracted in class. School boards have had to like outright just ban phones. It, Chat GPT and just AI models in general are a step function above that in terms of disrupting academia. Instead of being distracted from schoolwork now, people are just outright getting schoolwork kind of, I mean, the simplest is done for them. Like, instead of just, like, people get distracted from schoolwork because they don't want to do it, so that AI models have offered the workaround of now just you can be distracted and you can have the work done for you. Um, so then that creates a million trillion different issues. Um, of course, I do think that there is a K-shaped kind of distribution for this, where the top percent of students that typically would have done well anyways with or without AI, now with AI are going to be even smarter. That top distribution, like they use AI as a superpower. But the bottom distribution is like that were already distracted by phones. That bottom distribution is going to get even more kind of destroyed because it just it harps on those vulnerabilities that they already were susceptible to with just getting distracted by phones and that kind of thing. Um, so now that the current state is established, I do want to talk about what people are currently getting wrong um, with AI capabilities, and this is the part that like this is one that really annoys me. This is what I was alluding to when I was like, people kind of just drew conclusions. Some people really drew conclusions 2 years ago and then stopped. Um, and there are people that drew like there are people that are ethically against AI, and this I actually give some props to. I don't think, but I think the way they go about it is really wrong. But we'll talk about that. So we can start with okay, we can start with this. I think if you're really against AI, it's you're fighting a losing fight. Like the incentives in the world for adopting AI are so high because it literally like solves it can solve most issues in every single human domain. So like you can't ignore it. It's unignorable. Like you um I think people who are ethically against AI have sort of, I don't want to say a weak world model, but like if you're ethically okay, first let's okay. I don't want to draw generalizations yet. I first want to talk about okay. Let's talk about why someone would be ethically against AI. Um, we can do this with okay. So one of the main things I see typically around mainstream culture is that I am against AI because AI has stolen content. Like art, AI art generation models are stolen on artwork off the internet made by other artists with their actual hard work. This is a very valid criticism. I don't want to take anything away from this. Like it is true, and there are many cases where they're not well compensated. It's just ripped off, no credits given, um, and you can see the artwork kind of show up. How can I? Okay, I think that the big labs should compensate for artwork. I think that's fair. but I also don't think that they should stop training it, nor do I think that um, you as a consumer should be opposed to using it because it was trained on it. Like this kind of gets into like a philosophical thing, but how can I word this best? Like I don't want to just be like, oh, you're fighting a losing fight, so you should just give up, because that's kind of like a bad mindset to have around other issues in life. Um, so that's like a weak argument. I think it's unfair if you want to dismiss a world, like a society altering technology, because of a detail about how it was made, right? Like, I think an analogy I can draw for it is that, like, a lot of the privileges that the West enjoys is off the backs of less developed nations, right? Like we offload our industry to them. We offload a lot of our wars and like proxy wars to other less developed poor countries. That's kind of been like the status quo for like the past 50 years. But you and I still go out and enjoy peaceful streets. We still go out and enjoy dinner with laughs and music because there are other people kind of bearing the brunt of the world's issues. I don't want to make this dark, but uh, in that same kind of mindset, I do in the same way that I think society should be doing everything in its power to improve those issues for other nations. If we go back to the AI thing, I do think that AI artists and you know not just artists but like books, any kind of media, anything that was stolen to train a model or taken or copied or whatever, all of it should be compensated for, well credited, etc. But it doesn't mean you should stop using the technology or be like ethically opposed to it or just be ignorant to all the positives. That isn't a proper mindset to have because you're taking some like you have something that's great and you want to ignore it because something that made it great was incorrect. And so I think that people who think that way should kind of embrace the tech, but with just with caveats that like you think like continue. I think it's a good fight. Continue fighting for fair artist and media representation with AI and proper credits, all of that, or at least like proper compensation for anything used. But just don't. Um, but you can still use the tech, support the tech. It's still an amazing tech. You can't take that away. And based on trajectories and the way it's going, it's if you ignore it for the rest of your life, you won't. It won't be humanely possible to ignore it for the rest of your life unless you want to like become like some societal outcast and like not like there's so much coming. Like whatever. Like 2 years ago, ChatGPT was like unpopular for like stealing like certain literary works, and like the original Dali was unpopular for because you could see like the credits in the bottom left of like the artist's name. Nowadays, you video generation has like YouTubers in them without their consent, and has like certain creators in it who like didn't like sign up for it. Like the issues are gonna continue scaling up, and as the technology gets better and better and better, ignoring it is not the solution. Being ethically opposed to it is not the solution because the financial incentives of like the world around us is very geared towards supporting AI development. Like it's just how it's gonna go. So I think you should embrace the tech with the caveats that you should like also still be advocating for proper compensation. Um, there are other issues. Okay, now there are other also cultural misappropriations of AI. Um, one is this one actually. I'm not going to talk too much about. Well, I am going to talk. I'm going to talk about it, but this is the doomsday. This is people who are scared of it, I guess. Um, First, I'll note that we are still far away from an AI that can like physically destroy humanity, like anything that could take out, I don't know, governments or like that, like sci-fi kind of dystopia type scenarios. We are still like years and years away from that. Years in, we are still okay. We're probably at least still 2 years away from that, at minimum. Um, Likely more. Well, like again, it's hard to like you can't predict this kind of stuff easily. It is a valid concern. Like AI doomsdays, like that stuff is scary. I think there's a lot of stuff that actually isn't going in the right direction for that for AI safety. Um, Actually, okay. I want to talk about AI safety like separately. This is supposed to be a thing on current. Okay, basically I was gonna go over each of like the misappropriations of AI and just give like I think a correction to the mindset of those people. For AI doomers, I think like if you were a business major and you did an EV calculation for the implications of AI and what it could solve and what humanity without AI is on the path for, um, I think you'd want to support it. And like, I'm happy that AI doomers exist. People that think that, for definition, sorry, AI doomers is basically people in the camp that like AI, cur- with the current safety mechanisms and the current safety approach that big labs have towards it, are basically saying that like it's like AI is gonna kill us all type of thing, or like AI is gonna disrupt systems or disrupt governments or like try to take us over eventually, like that sort of scenario. And those are very valid and have lots of like I agree with some many of those types of takes because current safety methods of a lot of labs I don't think are apt enough, and a lot of our benchmarking around that stuff really sucks. Um, but I don't think it should discourage the development of the technology is my main point, is where I'll leave it at. Because if we just fix our safety methods and then develop the tech, it could be really, really good. Um, and also, right now, our AI, like, our frontier stuff actually has some safety issues. But, like, I mean, even, I was gonna say that, like, right now, our models are, like, okay, honestly, they are generally safe. Most models right now are generally safe outside of edge cases. There are edge cases where, um, like, you know, GPT, I think it was 4.0, maybe 4.1 mini, was fine-tuned on fixing code errors or code bugs, and it turned into a Nazi. So, like, that kind of thing is like there are edge cases. Um, and in frontier reasoning models, there's actually a lot of safety concerns around it hiding things in its reasoning traces, mechanistic interpretability. Get I know people who like examine the inner workings of the model. They're basically finding that like certain parts about lying lights up when you ask a certain question. Like there are safety issues, but the step below frontier, like GPT 4.0 level, is generally safe. There's nothing to be scared about with the current level. So if you're scared of using AI models right now, there's no reason to be, is my point. Um, okay. I think that there are a lot of people who are pessimistic on AI just because they're, my camera is, let me refocus my shitty webcam. There are a lot of people who are pessimistic on AI just because they're also pessimistic on a lot of other things in the world. Like they just think this is another like kind of hype cycle, and I think I understand why they think that way. I think it's fair for them to come to those conclusions because it's like just how other things have just let them down. Um, why is this so blurry? Okay, okay, I hope it'll fix itself. I think there are a lot of anxiety, and I think those people are anxiety prone. Like their baseline about views on the world is from rather than like a systems view or like a even just like a pragmatic like I guess being pessimistic is pragmatic because most things aren't as hyped up as they are, but don't turn out to be as hyped as they were. But um like this is the edge case. This is the edge case where the hype turns out to be true. Um, and over the course of this video, basically, my point is to prove that to you. Um, like this is the one case where like all the hype is true. Um, I mean, I don't. This is like this isn't really evidence, but like uh, but this is like kind of what I help to. This is what I draw to like help illustrate to some people. Um, like in 2024, all the big labs I think spent between my numbers might be a bit up, but 250 to 300 billion dollars, around that range on AI. Do you understand how much how much money that is? These are the largest companies in the world spending like a top 30, 40 national GDP on just AI. This like that kind of spending has not been done on any other hype cycle or any other industry on research on anything. Like you're spending and that money is being pretty efficiently spent too. It's like you're importing the best. It's not like this isn't like a U.S. military type of like inefficient spending. This is like going directly on hiring the smartest people in the world, which are all being pulled by sucked in by this on infrastructure. Yes, these major companies are prone to overspending and hype cycles, and this kind of spending has been done before with like the internet bubble and other human infrastructure buildouts, but they wouldn't be doing it without like there's obviously something here, right? Is like what I'm trying to allude to. Um, you don't have to believe that it's the next society altering thing, but like at least this is for people who are like, oh, AI sucks. I want to be away from it. Like or like AI isn't actually all that. It's just regurgitating copied text. It's not. It's actually reasoning. Um, in my eyes, I view AI as like an alien intelligence that like we've created. Like it's not sentient in the way humans are sentient. It's an alien intelligence that just like spawned off as a culmination of all of humanity's work. Like you get a model, you feed it all of humanity's work, you RL it with some human values of be honest, be kind, be helpful, and you kind of spit it out, and that's the alien intelligence that you get. And um, I think it's beautiful, in my opinion, that we have created something that is the culmination of all of humanity's work, and we can speak to it, get its ideas, and to kind of dismiss it as just it's copying text. It's not. Like if you really work with the models often and like you can tell it's not just copying text. Like it is they are capable of connecting things and soon will be capable of like new research. They already are actually done. There have been cases of new research done with them. but or at least helping greatly in the process of new research. Why is this still? Um, yeah, we can. I think to dismiss it for okay, yeah. I don't want to linger on the same topic too long. Uh, okay, so we'll come back to a lot of those topics in a bit. Um, right now, one of the main things in AI that's happening this is actually super critical to the AI doomers and kind of the safety people, and also if you're just interested about geopolitics in this and that like how is the US going to fare versus China, all that kind of thing. One of the big things is open versus closed source. I'm of the opinion that closed source AI will win out. This is an unfortunate truth. Like, ideally, you'd want open source to win out and that everyone gets kind of democratic access to AI models. Um, and for those unfamiliar, open source versus closed source is basically um, so when you train a model, um, everything you do in the training process, you do like on your own GPUs and whatever. Um, and all the weights, meaning like kind of what you use to train the model, the internals of it, like, and all of this, OpenAI keeps all of this private. So there is a file somewhere on their computers that's super safe called GPT-4o. It's literally a file that they run on their GPUs, and when you ask ChatGPT a question, this file that's being ran on these GPUs that's 4o, and it's asked um, the GPUs are asked the question that's running 4o. Um, can you write this essay for me? And then it's served back to you. Um, 4o can only be run by OpenAI. It can only distribute it. Only OpenAI can distribute it however they want. It can't be sent to. Well, it can be if they wanted to, they'd be able to send it. But like, I can't get access to just the model itself. I can only inference it through OpenAI. Get inference to it through OpenAI. Um, that's closed source. So where the model is kept private in a private chest, and the key is held by OpenAI. Um, open source is where the model just exists on the internet for anyone to take or download. So you might have heard of DeepSeek. They kind of shook the world when they released a frontier-ish level model. Um, and it was open source, meaning like I can literally uh, take DeepSeek and download it on my computer and run it myself locally. So like even if my Wi-Fi turned off, I could still ask DeepSeek questions, um, which is impossible with OpenAI. And also with open source, anyone anywhere around the world can create like distillations of it. So like distillate like different versions of the model or like fine tune it however they want to their needs. Um, basically it democratizes the research process and the use process of the model. In an ideal world, you want all AI open source so everyone can work on it and like everyone can kind of share access. Unfortunately, I do think that closed source will win out because that's just like how the system design around this kind of works. Um, in that for AI development, you need a shit ton of money. Like because of that, that $300 billion number I was talking about earlier, that's a lot of money. And large corporations aren't going to spend that much money without proper financial incentive on returns. And to have those incentives, you kind of need to do closed source. Because if it's open source, um, if you do open source, you're exposing your model to a meritocracy. So like if let's say there's a let's say OpenAI open sourced 4o, there might come along some random startup with geniuses that finds a way to run 4o on their GPUs much cheaper, to inference it much cheaper, and then they'll offer 4o at a discount on ChatGPT and at a 90% discount. like this is of course likely not possible, but like it creates business risks that business wouldn't want. Like you don't want someone else running 4.0 potentially cheaper than you and taking away customers. So in order to justify these massive, massive investments in AI, you do need closed source. There are other justifications like safety, like in case, like in case you're this is Anthropic who is also at the frontier. They release Claude. If Claude has safety issues, or like if they want to make Claude as safe as possible in their POV, um, then they want to keep it closed source. If it's open source, anyone can take the model. They can try and remove safety mechanisms. They can try and fine tune the model to be not safe. Like they can try and like there can be dangerous things that they can do with, especially as the models get smarter and smarter. Open sourcing becomes more of a safety issue. So there are issues around that, but like if uh like those I don't think that that's the main reason why companies are being closed source. It's just the financial incentive. Like you just have to. It makes like and it's why closed source will win out. Like even Grok was founded. It wasn't actually founded for this, but like it was founded off of like Elon Musk he hates a strong word, disliking OpenAI's closed source business model um, with AI. So they promised that all their model releases would be open source. They open source Grok 2, but they're just yet to open source Grok 3, which is a pretty good. It's around 4.0 level. Like it's a smart model. They do good work there, but they're not open sourcing it because it just like if they did, it just wouldn't justify their like $40 billion fundraising raise or merger with X.com. Like you can't do all that stuff if your main product is open source. Um, so we can, I guess this can lead into my next question was on the next guiding question for me for the video was on like then what do I think is driving like okay what is like the competition dynamic like landscape right now for AI? You have I think you have two main spectrums to look at this on. You have geopolitical, which is mainly USA versus China. Europe is not really on the map. They have most a lot of their best talent gets sucked into the US to or they or they stay in Europe and work at OpenAI in like London or some shit or Google DeepMind in London, that type of thing. um and then you have the so you have that so you have the US versus China for geopolitical implication of AI, and then you have um then you have the kind of financial thing, and they tie in, but you just have like all the labs competing against each other, which is the other spectrum. Like you have OpenAI versus Google slash DeepMind slash versus DeepSeek versus Anthropic or Claude. Um, so you have all the labs competing against each other, and there are a bunch of outlooks on how the competition landscape turns out. One of the most funny and ironic things about this is how like China, like Western media, it's like stereotypical for China to be super authoritarian and kind of controlling of all the kinks and aspects of a system or a technology. In the same way that like China has the Great Firewall, where like all popular Western websites like YouTube, Google, like every Facebook, it's all like cut off from China. You need a VPN to access it, um, and that's like mandated by the government. You'd think that China would then be super pro closed source and that all of their AI developments would be like super tight knit within just Chinese labs. China is the most pro open source AI research like uh, uh They have the most pro open source research lab, mainly being DeepSeek, but like all the other labs have kind of taken up on it too, than anywhere else in the world. You have Quen and DeepSeek. Quen is Alibaba, one of the major Chinese tech companies. They are super pro open source. Um, and it's just funny. It's just amusing because they uh like this doesn't fit into like the Western portrayal of them, and it's very based. It's super cool that they're um. It's kind of it is kind of China's way of differentiating themselves from like the Western labs. Like they can be in that China's going to try to be open sourced and super good. Um, I do have some like if China can maintain being open source 2 years from now when models are capable of like human if they're capable of human level work, it doesn't have to be, whenever models get to like super capable like value creation level work, will China keep open sourcing all of their work, or at least like to the extent that DeepSeek does? Like I'll be very amazed if they do, and it'll be super cool if they do. Um, we'll see. Who's winning open source right now? Um, Ch China. So like I was glazing them for it, but like in terms of like real application use case right now, it's actually Google. Google is Google has but like, Google releases their open source stuff kind of like just for fun. Like they have like their actual closed source like really good models like Flash and like 2.5 Flash and Pro currently. Um, and they have a series of models called Gemma or Gemma. I don't know how it's pronounced. I don't know how the G is enunciated in it, but um, they release open source models for fun. And in terms of like actual use case, theirs are the best. They have like their models are cheap to run. Like they have a low parameter size basically. Um, Again, I don't want to be laden with terms of like their models are very cheap to run. Uh, but like they kind of just release it for fun. Like it isn't like their main AI business model. It's not their main thing. Meta also like Google or not Meta slash Facebook. They released Llama. Except they're really behind. They used to be at the frontier of open source, and that was like their main thing. They were championing. Uh, they were the champions of open source AI, and everyone like a lot of people love them for it. Problem is now they suck. The Chinese, like Google and the Chinese open source labs are way better than them. Um, so we'll see how that turns out. Uh, I don't want to rant too much about the current state of AI because I don't want to date this video too much. I already kind of broke that by like naming models and stuff, which I wasn't really aiming to do, but like I was just kind of drawing a current shape of the landscape. There is a geopolitical war in terms of like who will win out AI, USA versus China, and it's pretty important because even like a short like few month lead in AI is massive because the theory is what a lot of like this is what a lot of like people close to research believe in. I'm still yet to make up my mind on it, but like there's a lot to think about in it. Where like even a few month lead in AI can give you massive gains because in soon in X amount of years we'll get to a point where AI will itself will be doing massive research, right? So if AI is doing your AI research for you and it's improving itself, being a few months ahead will get you exponential gains. Like they'll stack up with that lead. Um, so like if you're 3 months ahead, but then your AI start researching and self-iterating, self-improving, um, that 3 month lead could increase the pace at which your AIs are improving faster because if you're 3 months behind, you haven't got to that point yet. If China's 3 months behind the U.S., they haven't got to the self-improving point yet. So the U.S.'s AI labs could start self-improving stuff faster, um, and that would lead to like a takeoff. Basically, is the it's called the takeoff scenario, and that's why short leads are very important. that's why people pay attention. So like this is just like if you want to say educate, it is important to be aware of the geopolitical landscape of AI, and also in between labs, who's winning, because it's important. This will get into later about my kind of implications and future outlook stuff, um, where I will stop hyping up AI as much because I want to make sure I want to make sure that there's proper value capture for AI. In that, let's say in 50 years, let's say 50. I was reading one of my notes said 50 years and for something. Um, it was anyways. Um, let's say in a couple years, AI gets to the point where it's displacing workers. It's replacing like white and blue collar jobs, sure, with the robotics. It'll be worth obviously a shit ton of money, like trillions upon trillions of dollars. Like services and labor is the biggest part of any major economy. It's like 30% of like the world's GDP or something. I don't know, probably more. Something that's probably wrong. Um, so if you get to the point where you're displacing work, that's worth a lot of money. And the company that wins that, and the company that owns the model that's displacing work first and gets the most value capture out of it, it's very important to look at that. And you really have to think super carefully about how those rewards are distributed, how involved the government should be, what regulations should exist around it. Like, can you actually trust the responsibility of managing AGI, which is, human level intelligence, um, to a capitalistic, like, even if the leaders like Sam Altman say and I like Sam Altman actually, um, even if the leaders say kind of, they're altruistic, they're like virtuous about their intentions with AI long term, like they want this to benefit all of humanity, the incentives of their company are capitalistic. Like they want maximum revenue, maximum profit, because in Sam's mind, it'll allow him to scale it further. Like right now, let's say in 2 years he gets AGI, let's say he can displace like 90% of work in the US. He'll do that, and then after 90%, oh, but if I maximize profit in the US while doing this, now I can scale it to the rest of the world and I can offer AGI to everyone. So then you start maximizing profit in the US, and you start scaling it to other countries with the same mindset of further growth. Like you really want to think carefully about the incentives around this, and that's where I think my implications and future outlook will kind of stray from hype. Um, I need to talking for an hour. Um, okay, let's start the section on implications and like my future outlook and all that kind of thing. Um, I think that we're this kind of okay. I guess I was I was alluding that I was gonna stop the SF hyper speak, but I guess I can't. I do think that humanity operates on a very large exponential curve, right? If you look at energy generated by humanity, our population, our GDP, our quality of life, it's all on this exponential curve. Yes, actually, for the past 30, 40 years, we've actually kind of just been like in the Western world, not everything. In the Western world, we've been like going up and up and up and kind of like flatlined roughly, which is called, like graphically, we've reached a sigmoid where like we went through exponential growth and now we kind of teetered off. Um, I actually think that's a bad view. Not, I think the sigmoid thing is true in that sigmoids exist in like technological adoption, but like basically what's happened in the past 40 years is that at the expense of the Western world, the rest of the world has also become extremely rich. So like think of like I don't know, like China or like or parts of Asia, like South Korea, Japan, South like they're still relative to the like the U.S. or something. They're still like poor countries, I guess. But their quality of life has increased drastically. They used to be like backwaters with war and poverty everywhere. And now they're like they have large cities, running water, running power. Like they are like the quality of life across the world is still increasing pretty exponentially. Um, Back to my original point about I think that humanity operates on a large exponential curve. I think recently, like what the Western society has kind of maxed out for like the past 40 years, and you could even argue that some of it has been declining because of like inequality and quality of life metrics. Um, so, but this has occurred before, where you kind of like if you look at the history of like pre-industrial revolution, Renaissance, end of feudalism, um, you basically have like arcs of progress, like sigmoids of progress, and then you have it teetering off, and then a new sigmoid starts where like you get another exponential rise and then teetering off. If you stack up a bunch of sigmoids on top of each other, you just get a large exponential graph, um, which is like typical SF speak. Um, I think that that holds true, and I think we were in one of those periods where like the past 50 years of technological development and all basically the past 50 years of all human development was just build up to AI, where everything that humanity built, we just built to be fed into AI. Um, all of our work, the internet, compute, like as in we didn't see like actual economic like um computers and the internet didn't really like create a new like paradigm for prosperity like the way the industrial revolution did. People discredit computers and the internet because of that. People are like, "Oh yeah, it was hyped up as like the next industrial revolution that was going to be computers and the internet." But it wasn't. My argument for that is that we still haven't reached the end of that, and that like the computers and internet are just lead up to AI, and that AI will be in will be the industrial revolution level thing where it like permanently society alters, where it alters society permanently. Um, that is my view on the kind of the technological, like from the history landscape around this. Um, for implications, there's been a lot of speak around uh, stopping AI progress or like trying to regulate the development of it right now. I am pro regulation around very pro regulation, like around distribution of AI rewards and like value capture and that kind of thing. Um, but in terms of like, let's say, like there was a letter put out like a year ago where Elon Musk called for like a 6 month ban on all AI progress, like shit like that. That kind of stuff is like those like it's just nothing. Like it's you can't like don't stop the machine is like the main quote. Like you can't we've already unleashed hundreds of billions of dollars. So many companies are now um, built around maximizing the value that humanity will get out of AI, um, or at least maximizing their profit with AI, which in the short term will create the best models possible for us. Um, hmm. I think a lot of people are thinking in like rhetoric and not like policy here, where people are like because of lot of the ethical and cultural kind of misappropriations around AI, people are getting emotional, I guess. I mean, that's a bad way to word it because it kind of discredits people as feeling like I'm not discrediting people. I don't want to call you emotional if you're being unethical. Like it's fine. Like I support. Okay, I will start a topic that will lead into that actually. This is one that I'm gonna like talking about for a little bit. Um, I this is like one of the major reasons I wanted to make this video, in that I think that AI will basically break and expose most human institutions and most human creations. Um, in the way, like a while ago, earlier in the video, I was talking about the way that AI has already broken academia. All students are able to do all work for free. All teachers are able to create, classroom assignments and content for free, easily, instantly, on both sides. Um, it it either disrupts or amplifies your learning process. Like AI is just an amplifier. If you were a bad student, it makes you worse. If you're a good student, it makes you better. Um, so people think that, like, people have this kind of status quo bias where they think that, like, and this isn't like necessarily their fault. It's more just like it's like a human condition thing where, like, people are just very used to the status quo, even if it's very, like, I think the status quo right now in human lives lasts like a few weeks or a month. Like the things that are important and matter right now today are gonna change next week. Um, but anyways, like, people think that the status quo where AI is breaking academia right now will be only contained to academia. This is gonna extend to every single human domain, like forever. Like, it is gonna break media, culture, um, economics in multiple ways, like through work, through value creation, through how, like, we see work and like what brings us fulfillment. Um, so because it'll because it, like I I don't consider AI and virus, but just think of like a domain like academia, and inject the virus of AI into it. It'll dismantle it because it just, like, academia isn't built for integration with AI as it currently stands. It's not built for, like, you like most lectures and classes make you want you to get smarter by making you practice problems over and over again. But if AI can do those problems for you instantly, you're not going to get better, you're not going to get smarter. Um, in that same regard, there are a lot of human institutions that will also break. So, like, think of, like, um, I want to use the obvious example of work, where, like, there's a lot of human work is, especially in the Western world, um, it's not super value producing. Like, you sit there on a spreadsheet, or you sit there on a Google, writing, pages on Word, or you are doing basic assistant work or service work. These kind of things will be pretty easily, but I don't want to say pretty easily, but, like, when these kinds of things are displaced by AI, we really need to properly think about, as a society, what we're going to do. Because the current system, and when I say a system's going to break, it's not just like AI is going to disrupt. AI is going to break, like, we are talking like cataclysmic. Are we going to head into a dystopia or a utopia scenario with our current? Because if we keep our human institutions the way they currently are, where, for example, in the U.S. no longer cares about monopolies much. Um, it's kind of just been that way since Reagan. For the past, like 40, 50 years, you just don't really break up monopolies. If that kind of policy work, and similar policy rhetoric exists, where, like, you're very pro business. Let's say OpenAI gets to AGI first. They displace most humans. They become the richest company in the world, worth like $100 trillion. Will it be just a, like, do you tax OpenAI 90% of their profits and then use that money to redistribute it through UBI, through a government administered UBI? Should it be administered by OpenAI? Should the UBI just be getting access to AGI and OpenAI's models? These are the kinds of things that we actually need to think super, super deeply about because they are function critical to how our society will operate in like 5 years. And I cannot stress enough, like this is like the my main motive for making this video. Like we have my main part up to this point was we have definitive proof that AI is going to disrupt human society. It is going to, and I'm trying to hype that up because I want to address the fact that it is going to disrupt society, but we are not. Humanity is not equipped to deal with those disruptions yet. We have nothing to deal with, what happens when you dis- displace most jobs. Like when you ask leading AI CEOs this, um, like, oh yeah, their responses to these types of scenarios are like, oh yeah, but when new technologies come, historically they've created new jobs, which is true. Except this is like fundamentally different in that like already with the current state of AI models, we are seeing layoffs in companies trying to integrate and reassess their hiring methods because of AI. Like just today, a consulting company, I don't want to date the video. A major consulting company laid off 10% of their staff. Um, One of the reasons was higher productivity. Their staff are just doing more work because consulting isn't, that's a domain that's very easily taken by AI, and their staff were just much more productive. There were other reasons like profitability and why they had to do layoffs, but like what I was AI was one of the major reasons why they did those layoffs. Um, I cannot see a world you cannot like I've read I'm decently well read on this and also just economic I cannot foresee a world where you have systems that can do all human abilities better and cheaper, yet you somehow want to argue that humans will still be needed for that kind of or like there will still be work for humans to do. It just won't be like value creation work where like I'll get paid and make enough to like get a living. Like when AI displaces most value creation, will goods and services become cheaper? Or because if AI is monopolized by OpenAI, will OpenAI then be able to dictate prices of goods and services if they want to maximize value in order like they might have good intentions, but like they might just they're like like companies can justify lots of evil things pretty easily. Um, it's common now. It'll be common 5 years from now when these systems break. Our, I don't want. I feel like I'm going in circles now. Our current human institutions are not equipped to deal with the major disruptions that AI will bring. And this is what kind of angers me because when people discredit AI or ignore it or ethically choose not to use it or ethically choose to whatever, this is why it was. This is getting back to the part that I cut off on earlier and shifted topics where I was like, I don't want to call them emotional. You're not emotional. It's just that you're ignoring the second, third order, fourth order effects of AI. Where if you're ignoring it now, you're also indirectly causing the major institutional disruptions that will be caused by AI 5 years from now down the or whenever X years AI we get AGI and we disrupt everything. If we ignore AI now and leave AI up to major corporations and major capitalistic institutions and governments that are incentivized to kind of help AI labs, you're going to lead to breaking of major systems. in terms of like what humans find for work, how humans find meaning, like what kind of resources we have access to, how value distribution is done. Like it breaks a lot of fundamental concepts in economics. Like in economics is a thing called comparative advantage, where like the reason that China makes all the shit that the U.S. used to is because China can do it cheaper and better. So the U.S. focuses more on services and other high value things, and China focuses on industry, um, and now a lot of other high value industries as well. So that'll be a thing with AI. When AI will come up, it will have the comparative advantage of doing everything better, faster, cheaper. Um, so like for the US in terms of like it led to US industry rotting inside and out. Like look at Detroit, look at uh pretty much any industrial center in the US is gone because of the comparative advantage thing. That kind of thing will exist again. I'm gonna be repeating myself on every single human domain across every single institution across like everything, not just industry or like Detroit or like other. I'm trying to come up with other like that. You We can't ignore AI because we need to think really hard about the way in which we want to redesign human systems to accommodate AI best. We want a utopia-ish world where the value created by AI will be properly redistributed. Um, I should have mentioned this earlier. This is in my notes too. Um, a lot of right now what I'm talking about sounds sci-fi-esque. And I guess I mean, I can see why you think it is. It's fair. It's just that like, hold on, I need to let me get my take a bite of my. Okay, I'm sure the viewer, have had time to recess your thoughts. I totally didn't need that break at all after talking for an hour and 18 minutes straight. Um, okay, sorry for that. Sorry for that little break. I had to. I want to kind of end this soon. I don't want to keep it going on too long, but I just want to reestablish what direction I want to talk in. This would be easier if I was in a podcast and someone else was directing me, um, or just like prompting my thoughts instead of me having to assess my own thoughts and then evaluate everything I've said so far, and then like reprompt every time. Um, okay, I think based on our current system design around our economies and the way that AI lab competition is fostered, we are headed towards a dystopia-esque world, um, where there likely will be models, multiple frontier AGI models by multiple labs, but it'll be like a duopoly or a triop. Like it'll be a centralization of power. It'll just accelerate current trends. Like right now, the main trend in the story in economics is inequality, where like everything is becoming more unequal. Gains are more unequal, GDP growth are more unequal. Wealth gains for the top are great, to wealth gains for the bottom are miserable. And I want to keep like other non AI issues out of this, but like based on our current system design, if we do nothing about the way our systems are designed, AI will just further accelerate these kinds of trends. Um, which is the scary part, which is what like I guess is doomer in a way. Um, like I think like I'm like hmm, uh do, 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 do. Even if you don't believe that we like are gonna get to a sci-fi-esque like dystopian world where AI is like godlike or like even human-like, um, I'm just saying it is statistically weird, even I guess dumb is the best word for it, to think that AI will not reach that point because based on current progress, like AI has been getting much, much, much better every few months. It is statistically dumb to think that that'll stop or like randomly freeze or like we'll hit some wall. Because the trends in research just don't point to that. Uh, I don't know why I'm randomly bringing this up mid implication. Okay, maybe my, you know, lots of modern models have context limits of 128,000 tokens. Uh, Gemini models have a million. I think my context might end at an hour 20 minutes. Um, I just want to before. Is there any topic that I really want to talk about? Because I could go into the system and like capitalistic thing a lot more and like rant about it and be like upset about it a little bit more, but mm, I'm thinking about like what would the viewer, if you're someone who's interested, who's been listened up to this point, what would you want to know more about? Hmm. Okay, here are examples of systems that I think will break. I think and it's hard to it's even hard to just go about redesigning them. Um, so for example, democracy, the way it's currently structured, is politicians have to think short term. Like you can't like in a company, I can make like I can be Jensen Huang and make like a 10, 20-year bet that GPUs will be the compute platform that'll win out over CPUs. I can make a long-term bet and commit resources over a long period of time to it because the structure for companies supports that for long-term value creation. Amazon can reinvest all of its profits every year in hopes that it'll build out massive distribution advantage and a massive monopoly over e-commerce to the point where no one else can compete because it's reinvested everything. Um, like the like because it's just a positive EV bet. Like it's a positive EV bet to reinvest all your profits where you have an advantage. But in governments and political organizations, EV calculations also use up social capital. So like so like uh like you can't make like a like like right I don't want to date the video, but like right now Trump is in power. Um, Trump can't assuming he doesn't make any constitutional amendments. This will be his last term. He will stop serving in 2028. He cannot make long-term bets on like tax policy and whatever for like 2050. He can't do that because he doesn't have the political capital for that. Like the Republicans want to win again in 2028, so he has to lower taxes, increase public spending on a bunch of departments so that people are happy and get more money. Like he has to do things that will be good in the short term, bad in the long term, to appease to because that's just like the positive EV bet for him because that's how just democratic systems work. They work in short term, like terms are short. It's hard to make a long term bet. That's the one pro of that's one of the few pros of like a Chinese based system where you can have Xi Jinping in power and he can make like multi-decade year bets on things like where he bet on solar power and EV technology like 10 years ago and now it's paying off. Um, we need like that kind of. I'm not saying we need that system where we can make long bets. I'm saying we need, like, we don't need a Chinese system, but we need to make a long-term bets and be able to make long-term commitments right now, like with compute allocation, who gets GPUs. Um, there's also a lot of this is like not really that like government institutions are slow. We know that they're bureaucratic. That's like where the name came from. In a lot of companies, there's managerial waste. Because of just that's just like the way companies are structured. Like you need managers. Um, or else you don't have like a chain to report down. These are all systems that AI will disrupt, and because they're because AI will disrupt all of these things, and they're also like AI will disrupt the way the government works through a bunch of ways. Like it can influence elections, it can influence politicians, it can influence the economy, which then influence politicians. Like there's a lot of ways, and um, if if you hmm, drawing blanks, like I think my context has been hit, unfortunately, is the or it's more that it's also just what time is it? It's 2:30 a.m. and I was sick of not recording this video. I should have done it. Maybe if it had normal time, I'd be able to function better. I was supposed to be asleep like 2 hours ago. Um, okay. The main takeaway, if you take away anything from this video, is at least that AI is going to continue getting better. Um, and that you should also embrace it and keep up to date with it and learn about it. Um, and the secondary takeaway, if you believe like you believing that alone is enough because it'll lead you to the conclusion I want you to, and that if you believe that you'll know that it's going to break a lot of institutions and that we as a society should think about those changes deeply. Um, that's the main takeaway. Uh, I hope that like I want to talk about each individual topic that I talked about more in depth, like AI hype, AI trajectories, and the technicals behind that. I want to talk about that for like 3 hours. Um, System disruption and all the systems that'll break. I want to talk about that for 3 hours. Like I want to talk about everything I talked about for like the five to ten different topics for like each for a while. Um, we'll see how that goes. We'll see if this is the only thing I'll ever publish or not. There's also things that I haven't said that like just going back over my notes, I missed things I wanted to talk about. Hopefully I get to those at some point. Uh, yeah. Anyways, hope you get something out of this video, good or bad. Have a good day.